You are about to realize that your memory has lied to you with such confidence that it convinced millions of other people to remember the same thing wrong at the same time. Think of a moment you were absolutely certain about something from your past, only to discover later that reality quietly disagreed with you. That unsettling gap between what you remember and what actually exists is not a glitch in the universe. It is a feature of how human memory works. The Mandela Effect is not about bad memory. It is about how memory is constructed, shared, reinforced, and emotionally protected. When thousands of people remember the same false detail, the instinct is to suspect timelines, dimensions, or hidden forces. The truth is far more intimate and far more disturbing. Your brain does not store memories like recordings. It stores them like stories that are rewritten every time you recall them. Each act of remembering slightly alters the memory itself. This alteration is invisible to consciousness. You feel the same certainty even as the content shifts. Certainty is not proof. Certainty is a feeling generated by coherence. The Mandela Effect occurs when a false version of a memory feels more coherent than the true one. Coherence feels like truth to the brain. This is why people will argue passionately for memories that never existed. The brain prioritizes internal consistency over external accuracy. If a memory fits the mental model, it feels right. If reality contradicts it, reality feels wrong. The most famous Mandela Effect examples are not random. They follow predictable psychological patterns. They involve familiar brands, childhood media, cultural icons, and emotionally neutral details. Neutral details are important because the brain fills them in automatically. Automatic filling feels effortless. Effortless recall feels authentic. The brain hates incomplete patterns. When information is missing, it supplies what feels most probable. Probability is based on expectation, not fact. If something sounds right, it becomes right internally. This is why so many people remember Berenstain Bears instead of Berenstain Bears. The brain prefers familiar linguistic patterns. Stein fits existing name schemas better than stain. The correction feels wrong because the original fit better emotionally. Emotion decides memory confidence. Memory confidence is mistaken for accuracy. The Mandela Effect thrives where confidence is high and verification is rare. Most people never fact-check childhood memories. They trust them. Trust strengthens recall. Recall strengthens distortion. The brain remembers remembering, not the original event. This creates memory echo chambers. Each recall reinforces the altered version. Over time, the false memory feels older than it is. Age increases credibility. The Mandela Effect becomes communal when people compare memories. Shared recollection creates social validation. Social validation amplifies certainty. Certainty silences doubt. Once doubt is silenced, correction feels like attack. This is why Mandela Effect discussions become emotional. They threaten identity. Memory is tied to self. Challenging memory feels like challenging who you are. The brain responds defensively. Defense does not mean truth. It means protection. The Mandela Effect is strongest when people learn the memory socially. Movies, television, books, and advertising embed shared imagery. Shared imagery becomes shared memory. When the source changes or is misremembered, the group memory persists. The group memory feels stronger than the artifact. Reality loses the vote. The brain assumes consensus equals accuracy. This assumption once helped humans survive socially. Now it distorts recall. The brain also compresses information over time. Details are lost, structure remains. The The mind reconstructs missing parts using expectation. Expectation comes from culture. Culture supplies templates. Templates overwrite nuance. This is why logos, quotes, and scenes are often misremembered. The mind remembers the idea, not the exact form. Precision fades, meaning stays. The Mandela Effect feels eerie because it exposes this process. It reveals that memory is not retrieval, it is reconstruction. Each reconstruction slightly diverges from the original. You never remember the same memory twice. You remember the last version you created. The brain does this efficiently, not maliciously. Efficiency keeps cognition fast. Accuracy is secondary. The Mandela Effect also exploits something deeper. The brain hates randomness. It seeks cause. When many people share the same false memory, randomness feels insufficient. The mind invents explanations to restore meaning. Alternate timelines feel more satisfying than cognitive fallibility. Fallibility threatens self-trust. The brain protects self-trust fiercely. Admitting memory error feels destabilizing. Reality feels less solid. The Mandela Effect becomes a defense against that discomfort. It externalizes the error. If reality changed, then memory remains perfect. This belief preserves identity. But the truth is harder. Memory is adaptive, not archival. It evolves with use. Emotion colors it. Repetition reshapes it. Confidence locks it in. The Mandela Effect reveals how easily confidence can be manufactured. If enough people say they remember the same thing, doubt evaporates. Doubt requires solitude. Social memory erases solitude. Once a false memory is shared, it gains momentum. Momentum feels like inevitability. Inevitability feels like truth. The brain does not distinguish between internal inevitability and external reality. This is why even seeing proof can feel unsatisfying. The correction lacks emotional weight. The false memory carries nostalgia. Nostalgia increases attachment. Attachment resists correction. The Mandela Effect often involves childhood memories because childhood lacks verification. Children trust authority. They absorb narratives passively. Later recall feels personal, even if it was inherited. Inherited memory feels authentic. The brain does not label source clearly. Source confusion is common. Movies, jokes, parodies, and repeated references overwrite originals. Eventually, the reference replaces the source. The Mandela Effect is memory drift, accelerated by culture. It is not mass delusion, it is mass reconstruction. The reason this phenomenon feels disturbing is because it undermines a comforting belief. That belief is that memory equals reality. Once that belief cracks, uncertainty spreads. If memory can be wrong collectively, then certainty itself feels fragile. This discomfort pushes people towards supernatural explanations. The supernatural preserves mystery without blaming the mind. Blaming the mind feels personal. But the Mandela Effect is not a failure. It is evidence of how memory was designed to function. Memory was built to guide behavior, not document history. If the memory guides you effectively, accuracy becomes irrelevant. The problem arises only when accuracy is demanded. The Mandela Effect emerges at the intersection of confidence, culture, and correction. It thrives where familiarity outweighs verification. It spreads where emotion outpaces evidence. It persists because the brain prefers coherence over correction. This is only the surface layer of what is happening, because beneath shared false memories lies a deeper mechanism shaping how reality itself feels stable. And once that mechanism becomes visible, the Mandela Effect stops being strange. It becomes inevitable. To understand why the Mandela Effect feels so convincing, You have to understand that memory confidence is not produced by accuracy, but by fluency. Fluency is the feeling of ease when information comes to mind. The easier a memory feels to access, the more true it feels. The brain equates speed with reliability. When a memory surfaces quickly, the mind assumes it has been well stored. In reality, speed often means repetition, not truth. Repeated exposure strengthens neural pathways, regardless of accuracy. This is why advertisements work even when people know they are being persuaded. Familiarity masquerades as truth. The Mandela Effect exploits this mechanism perfectly. When people encounter the same false memory multiple times, the brain strengthens it through repetition. Each repetition increases fluency. Each increase in fluency boosts confidence. Confidence then suppresses skepticism. Skepticism requires effort. Effort feels wrong when something feels obvious. The brain avoids effort whenever possible. This is why correction feels unsatisfying. The correct version often feels unfamiliar. Unfamiliarity triggers doubt. Doubt feels uncomfortable. The mind resolves discomfort by rejecting the correction rather than the memory. This process happens below awareness. People believe they are reasoning when they are actually rationalizing. Rationalization protects identity. Identity is tied to memory. Your memories tell you who you have been. If memory becomes unreliable, identity becomes unstable. The brain protects stability at all costs. This is why false memories are defended so passionately. Defending the memory feels like defending the self. Neuroscience shows that recalling a memory makes it temporarily unstable. During recall, the memory enters a labile state. In that state, it can be altered before being stored again. This process is called reconsolidation. Reconsolidation allows learning. It also allows distortion. Each time you remember something, you are not retrieving it intact. You are rebuilding it. New information sneaks in during reconstruction. Social input is especially powerful during this phase. When someone confidently shares a memory, your brain integrates their version. If their version fits your expectations, it overwrites yours. This happens even when you are sure you remember differently. The integration feels seamless. You do not feel the change. You feel continuity. Continuity creates trust. Trust silences doubt. The Mandela Effect often spreads through conversation. Someone mentions a detail casually. Others feel recognition. Recognition triggers agreement. Agreement strengthens group confidence. Group confidence reinforces individual certainty. The false memory becomes socially anchored. Once anchored, it resists correction. Correction threatens social belonging. Belonging is neurologically prioritized over accuracy. The brain evolved in groups. Exile meant death. Agreeing with the group feels safe. Disagreeing feels dangerous. This ancient bias still shapes cognition. The Mandela Effect thrives in environments where social validation is visible. Online forums accelerate this process. Algorithms amplify repetition. Repetition creates fluency. Fluency creates belief. Belief feels like memory. The brain does not separate belief from recall. This is why people experience genuine shock when confronted with evidence. The shock is not because they were wrong. It is because their internal model has been violated. Model violation triggers stress. Stress activates defense. Defense blocks learning. The correction bounces off. The brain then seeks explanations that preserve coherence. Alternate timelines feel coherent because they preserve memory confidence. They protect identity. They externalize error. The mind prefers external explanations to internal fallibility. Internal fallibility feels unsafe. If memory cannot be trusted, what can? The Mandela Effect is often framed as a mystery, but it is actually a mirror. It shows how much we rely on memory to define reality. Reality feels stable because memory feels stable. When memory wavers, reality feels unstable. This destabilization is deeply uncomfortable. The brain rushes to restore order. Order is restored through narrative. Narrative does not require truth. It requires coherence. The Mandela Effect narratives provide coherence without forcing self-doubt. They feel satisfying. Satisfaction reinforces belief. The brain learns what feels good. It repeats it. The emotional component cannot be ignored. Many Mandela Effect memories are nostalgic. Nostalgia strengthens emotional attachment. Emotion enhances memory vividness. Vividness increases confidence. Confidence resists correction. This is why childhood memories are especially resistant. They feel foundational. Foundations support identity. Undermining them feels threatening. The brain responds by doubling down. Another factor is schema theory. Schemas are mental frameworks that organize knowledge. They simplify reality. Simplification reduces cognitive load. When a memory fits a schema, it is more likely to be accepted. When it conflicts, it is altered. The Mandela Effect often aligns with dominant schemas. Brands are remembered how brands usually look. Quotes are remembered how quotes usually sound. Names are remembered how names usually spell. The brain smooths irregularities. Irregularities feel wrong. This smoothing is automatic. It happens without consent. Once smoothed, the memory feels cleaner than the original. Clean memories feel correct. Messy details feel suspicious. Reality is messy. Memory prefers elegance. The Mandela Effect reveals that the brain edits reality for aesthetic coherence. A coherent story feels better than an accurate one. This is not a flaw. It is an optimization. The brain was never meant to preserve history. It was meant to guide behavior. If a false memory does not harm behavior, the brain sees no reason to correct it. Correction costs energy. Energy is conserved. Only when accuracy becomes necessary does conflict arise. The conflict feels personal. People feel embarrassed, defensive, or angry. These emotions are signals of identity threat. The brain treats memory challenges as self-challenges. This is why debates over Mandela Effect examples rarely end peacefully. The issue is not the detail. It is the implication. If this memory is wrong, what else is? The mind resists that question. Resisting preserves psychological stability, but stability built on false certainty is fragile. When it cracks, distress follows. The Mandela Effect sits at this fault line. It exposes the tension between confidence and correctness. Most people choose confidence. Confidence feels empowering. Correctness feels abstract. The brain prioritizes felt experience over objective verification. This preference shapes belief systems, relationships, and history itself. The Mandela Effect is not isolated. It is a visible symptom of a broader cognitive pattern. That pattern influences how societies remember events, leaders, and truths. Collective memory shapes collective identity. When collective memory drifts, reality feels negotiable. This realization is unsettling, but it is also illuminating. Because once you see how memory can be collectively wrong without malice, a deeper question emerges. If memory can be reshaped so easily, then how much of what feels real is actually constructed after the fact? How many certainties are maintained not by evidence, but by repetition and agreement? And what happens when those agreements begin to fracture? That is where the Mandela Effect moves from a curiosity to a psychological warning. Because when shared memory breaks down, so does shared reality. And understanding that process is essential to understanding how belief, truth, and identity collide. When the Mandela Effect reaches its deepest level, it stops being about memory and starts being about reality itself. Reality, as experienced by humans, is not a fixed external object. It is a negotiated experience built from perception, memory, and agreement. When agreement weakens, reality feels unstable. This instability is what makes the Mandela Effect so unsettling. It reveals that what feels objectively real is often socially reinforced. The brain does not experience the world directly. It experiences a model of the world. That model is constantly updated using memory as reference. If memory shifts, the model shifts. The shift does not feel gradual. It feels like reality itself changed. This is why people describe Mandela Effect moments as eerie rather than confusing. Eeriness emerges when prediction fails. The brain predicts consistency. When consistency breaks, the nervous system reacts. That reaction is not curiosity. It is threat detection. Unstable reality feels dangerous. If the past cannot be trusted, the future feels uncertain. Uncertainty activates anxiety. Anxiety demands explanation. The mind fills the gap with narratives that restore order. Parallel universes feel orderly. Timeline shifts feel orderly. Hidden edits to reality feel orderly. Admitting that memory is unreliable feels chaotic. Chaos threatens the sense of self. The Mandela Effect becomes a psychological defense against chaos. It protects the illusion that perception is accurate and the self is stable. Once this illusion cracks, something deeper is revealed. Certainty itself is not evidence of truth. Certainty is a sensation generated by neural alignment. When a belief fits smoothly into the existing mental model, it feels true. Truth, in the objective sense, does not produce a feeling. The feeling comes from coherence. The Mandela Effect exploits this difference. False memories feel coherent because they fit expectations. True memories sometimes feel wrong because they violate them. This reversal is deeply uncomfortable. The brain prefers what feels right to what is right. This preference shapes not just memory, but belief, ideology, and history. Collective memory determines collective identity. What a group remembers defines who they believe they are. When collective memory shifts, identity shifts. Resistance emerges not because people love falsehoods, but because they fear identity loss. Losing a memory feels like losing a piece of yourself. The Mandela Effect exposes how identity clings to memory for stability. This is why correction often fails. Correction attacks identity indirectly. Indirect threats feel manipulative. The brain resists manipulation fiercely. Ironically, this resistance increases vulnerability to actual manipulation. When people refuse to question memory, they become easier to influence through repetition. Repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity creates belief. Belief feels self-generated. The Mandela Effect demonstrates how easily shared belief can replace verification. This has consequences far beyond pop culture examples. Historical events are remembered through narratives. Narratives simplify complexity. Simplification erases nuance. Over time, stories replace facts. Groups remember what reinforces cohesion. They forget what disrupts it. This process happens unconsciously. No conspiracy is required. Memory drift is enough. The Mandela Effect is a visible microcosm of how societies misremember their past. When challenged, societies react the same way individuals do. They deny. they defend, they externalize error, they accuse reality of betrayal. Understanding this reveals why truth alone rarely changes minds. Truth without emotional coherence feels hostile. The brain does not welcome hostility, it rejects it. This rejection is often mistaken for ignorance. It is actually protection. Protection of internal stability. The unsettling implication is that reality maintenance is an active process. It requires constant reinforcement. When reinforcement weakens, cracks appear. The Mandela Effect appears most often in transitional moments, when technology changes, when generations shift, when shared references dissolve. Without a stable reference point, memory fills gaps differently. Different reconstructions emerge. Agreement fractures. Reality feels negotiable. This is why the Mandela Effect has become more noticeable in the digital age. Information is abundant. Verification is optional. Repetition is constant. Algorithms reward familiarity. Familiarity breeds confidence. Confidence breeds belief. Belief masquerades as memory. The cycle accelerates. The danger is not that people remember things wrong. The danger is that confidence becomes detached from evidence. When confidence no longer requires verification, truth becomes irrelevant. The Mandela Effect is a warning sign of this detachment. It shows how easily shared certainty can form around error, and how resistant that certainty becomes once identity is involved. The solution is not skepticism alone. Skepticism without humility becomes arrogance. The solution is epistemic humility. Humility accepts that memory is fallible without collapsing self-trust. It allows correction without identity threat. It treats memory as provisional rather than sacred. This does not mean distrusting everything. It means understanding the limits of internal evidence. People who develop this humility experience fewer Mandela Effect shocks, not because their memory improves, but because surprise no longer feels threatening. Threat is what makes the experience eerie. Without threat, the phenomenon becomes neutral, interesting rather than disturbing. The Mandela Effect ultimately teaches a difficult lesson. Reality feels solid because we agree it is. Memory feels accurate because we rarely challenge it. Certainty feels earned even when it is constructed. Once you see this, you cannot unsee it. You begin to notice how often people defend confidence rather than truth. You notice how quickly familiarity replaces verification. You notice how disagreement feels emotional rather than factual. This awareness can be destabilizing at first, but it is also empowering. It allows you to hold beliefs lightly. It allows you to update without shame. It allows you to remain grounded when others panic over contradictions. The Mandela Effect stops being about alternate realities and starts being about cognitive responsibility. Responsibility for how much weight you give to your certainty. Responsibility for how often you verify what feels obvious. Responsibility for distinguishing memory from evidence. This responsibility does not weaken reality, it strengthens it. Shared reality becomes more resilient when it is flexible. Rigid realities fracture. Flexible ones adapt. The Mandela Effect is unsettling because it exposes fragility. But fragility is not failure. It is a condition of being human. Memory was never meant to be perfect. It was meant to be useful. When usefulness and truth diverge, tension appears. That tension is what you feel when a Mandela Effect example collapses. It is not reality breaking. It is the illusion of certainty dissolving. And when that illusion fades, something more durable can emerge. A relationship with truth that does not depend on confidence alone. A sense of self that can survive correction. a mind that can update without fear. That is the real significance of the Mandela Effect. Not that reality is unstable, but that understanding, it requires humility rather than certainty. And once humility replaces certainty, shared reality becomes something we consciously maintain instead of blindly defend. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful or eye-opening, make sure to hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more practical psychology insights, self-awareness tools, and mind-sharpening advice. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.